Hey gang, it's 2025. We made it. So why not kick off the year with some fireworks? Thank you all for coming. This is the first video of the year, and the question is, what can we expect in 2025? Will it be a good year? Is it going to kick off? Or are we topped out already, etc.? I will also analyze statistically what all the experts predict and give my thoughts as to my models. Not expert speculation, but more math. And also, I will speculate, a lot of speculation, on some stuff that's happening behind the scenes. That I just, something smells weird. Thank you, friendly man in the Netherlands. Thank you so much. And TNT Tesla, Happy New Year. Sean Donnelly, Happy New Year. K8, etc. All the people keeping us safe. We'll talk about SBRs. You're going to hear the term a lot. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve in 2025. Is it going to happen? We'll talk about some Texas moves and supply crunch, and can you live off Bitcoin, and who's gunning for 500,000 Bitcoin by Feb, and how high we will climb. Let's get into it. Happy New Year again. And disclaimer, I'm just a guy on the internet. What do I know? We'll see. And shout out to everybody on Patreon. This is from the Beaten Trail. Thank you for making my 2024 the best financial year so far. Woohoo! Your Patreon is so worth it. Thank you so much for being part of the family. And yes, we had an amazing year. And yes, we went out with a whimper in December. And that broke people's morale. But stay strong, stay positive, and check out this data that comes. Let's get into a little bit of Bitcoin news first before we go into a whole bunch of statistical analysis. I'll try whet the appetite. First of all, I found this image very, very important from Bitcoin Magazine. And I like to say, what's in your wallet? Well, gold is physical, fiat is political, and Bitcoin is mathematical. This is profound for me because this is a channel about math, money, and freedom. Has been since day one. So let's get into it. I do not like politics. I do not like fiat. And I don't like 5,000-year-old rocks. But I do like math. So there's a fit here somewhere. And I think the people that watch this channel like math too, or are beginning to love it. Also, reminder, this is cool from Rob Moore. Your money in the bank isn't yours, isn't money, and isn't even in the bank. Remember that, everybody. Remember, we've been lied to by everybody. 2025 is the year of awakenings, and the world is awakenings. Even economies with this fiat stuff that is purely political, they're beginning to think, hey guys, let's print it and put it into something mathematical. Why not? Why not? So, setting the tone for this video, everybody's talking about this. The SBR, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve in 2025. What are the odds of it happening? Well, per Polymarket of late, it's now 42% chance, which is higher than last time I reported, even though it says down 14%. Last time I looked at it, it was 38%, so it's actually gone up a little bit. Anyway, we'll see if it happens. There was a lot of stuff bubbling up at the Saylor party last night, and people were talking about this a lot. Folks like Dennis Porter and others. And we'll get back to that in a minute, but there's crazy stuff happening out there in the world. First of all, Hive moves to Texas. Hive is a Bitcoin mining firm, and they relocated their headquarters from Vancouver to Texas, citing the pro-Bitcoin stance of DJT. A lot of stuff is happening. There's no doubt this new administration is pro-crypto, pro-innovation, pro-digital assets, anti-corruption. So we'll see what happens. It could be a great year, even though we just came off two great years, 2023 and 2024. Could we get three in a row? We'll look at some charts about that in a minute too. Also, and yet another player, I've been talking a lot about how for the first time, we might be able to get to a place where we could actually live off our Bitcoin securely. The thing about this and why it's so profound, I mentioned it briefly yesterday, but this just popped up today. If people can live off their Bitcoin and generate, money from it, then there's no reason to sell it, which could in turn fuel the supply crunch. This is a firm called Libre that has some big key players behind it. And they are using advanced cryptographic and decentralized technologies to allow users to borrow against their Bitcoin safely while ensuring they retain ownership. And they use MPC and TSS for custody along with segregated vaults to provide a very high level of security and decentralization and full transparency, distinguishing it from other platforms in the past where your assets might be or definitely were at risk. Again, good returns on certain structures. We'll dig more into this in the future, but more of this is coming. You'll be able to borrow against your Bitcoin to buy a house and so much more. The TradFi world is coming to crypto, and that will really help it. But let's get into the story today. This is about Bitcoin predictions, statistics, and some charts. First of all, I hinted at this yesterday, but I expanded the list to a couple of different categories. First of all, we have all the Bitcoin expert predictions for 2025. And please take everything you hear on the internet with a grain of salt. But what I found very effective in life is to analyze lots of data and create composite scores and averages, because that can be directionally correct. So first of all, these are the 2025 Bitcoin expert predictions. You see names like Bernstein, Van Eck, Standard Chartered, Fundstrat Tomley, again, much respect to him, Tim Draper, Chamath, Galaxy Research, Bitwise, Willy Woo, Peter Brandt. Peter Brandt is a legend in the space, a TA legend. Michael van der Pop, James Butterfield, Matrix Port, Alex Thorne, Arthur Yang, and Sid Powell. These are the so-called experts. Now, what I did was I took their high price target and their average price target. Some people had a low target as well, and created averages and calculated an implied growth from the price of where we are today. Now, could they all be wrong? No. Could some be right? Absolutely. But where are they going directionally? That's what I wanted to get to and calculate a whole bunch of statistics around this data. And then you can take that and you can shave 30% off of it or 50% off of it to know where we're probably going to go. Then we have the platform predictions. Here we have Investing Haven, Changelly, and Coinpedia. Weird names, but they were a lot more conservative on their price targets. High price targets around 160-ish. Low price targets under where we are today. And average price targets, you can see not a lot of big action happening. By the way, this model is auto-fed by real-time prices, so you'll see the implied growth from the price. That changes to give you... Bitcoin was very dynamic this morning. In fact, as I talk, Bitcoin's gone up again, 94,660. So we're creeping up there a little bit, which is good. Anyway, that was the first part. Now, first thing I'm going to do is calculate the averages, and then we look at some statistics. First of all, the average Bitcoin predictions for 2025 from all of them. The average high price target is 201.5, low price target is 104, and average price target from all is about $192,000, which is a nice 2x from where we are right now. Average from the experts is higher. You can see high target 206, low target 140, and the average price target at 206,071, because some are very skewed to the upside. And the implied growth is about 220% from where we are now. And the average for platforms is lower. Average 114,851, which isn't far from 120K, which was my target from years ago. So we'll see where we go from there. But what I did as well is threw in some statistics so you can have all the data and you can pull from who you like, what you want, who you trust. Maybe you prefer the platforms, maybe you prefer the experts, maybe you want an average of everything to be more conservative. But if you calculate the average high target across the board, it's 250K. The average price target across the board, including high and low, is 197K. And the price target low is 99,391. So on average, things are looking pretty good. If you take the average of all, that's the average of the high, the low, and the average targets, and assumes equal weight for each source, you get that. Same thing for platforms. And then the median, of course, is where people anchor most. You will see the median is approximately for all of them 180, for the experts 190, and for the platforms 115K. The mode, everybody's anchoring on 200,000, which is where everybody expects Bitcoin to go, which is big, and the range is high, from 500,000 all the way down to 75K, and everything else in between. So it's interesting, though, that the range of all is a little bit lower on the bare low end of target. Now, how does this compare? By the way, if you calculate the expected outcome, most important is the title here. The expected price outcome from all of these, from all of this data, is 267K. Wow, that's high. But you have people like Tom Lee from Fundstrat expecting 250K. Not far from there. What do I expect? So I do everything in layers. This is from the layer in, layer out model, LILO prediction. It has layer 10 going up to right now, based on history, $155,000. Level 9 is 142K, and level 8 is 121K. You hear me talk about 120K because I do believe we'll hit level 8, which is conservative. I believe we have an 80% chance of hitting level 8, and that's how this thing works, basically. The higher up we go, the lower the odds, the lower the certainty, but then that's what actually feeds things like our profit-taking model as well, for those who want to take some off the table. Now, speaking of profit-taking, this ties into the rest of the story. How could Bitcoin more than double from here? And a reminder of the stats. You can see here the average expectation is pretty darn good, up from 200%, doubling a 20% gain to 306%, depending on who you're following. And that's up to you. But what I do want to talk about, I hinted at this yesterday, I track the long-term holders. And normally, these are the people that hold Bitcoin for many years, and they know how to play bull markets and bear markets. They know to stack in the bear, and they know to take some off the table in the bull. This is very, very important. And I've been analyzing these guys for quite a while, these guys and gals who have big bags. So this is the long-term holder reserves. And I do want to share a key point here, that the long-term holder reserves are already down from 71% to 61%, okay? So they only go down to a max of 54% historically. Very important. I shared this briefly yesterday, but people didn't quite get it, so I'm going to walk through it again. So what they've done is they have sold already 63% of the tranche that they normally sell. Okay, they go from 71 to 54. They are now 63% through selling that tranche. Therefore, if history repeats, they have 37% left to sell. So what does this mean? The important thing about this is where much of the supply comes from. The miners are hodling to a large extent, and some miners are actually buying even more. My silly analogy of a chocolate factory making chocolate and then buying chocolate on the free market as well. Crazy to think, but that's where we are with players like Marathon, etc. And Marathon have bought all of many of the top public miners' bags that they've sold so far this year. Just to put things in perspective, one player, MicroStrategy, has bought 1.6 years of Bitcoin supply from miners that aren't even selling. Okay, so this leads me to the next step, supply crunch. From this, again, to reiterate, these long-term holders are 63% through their typical selling. They never sell at all. They sell a piece which is approximately a third, call it. They always retain 2/3. So for those of you who are thinking of selling and taking some profit, you never sell all your Bitcoin. You take a little piece off, and then you find a way to average back down when the price mean reverts. If it does that, if we get a blow off top. And remember as well, in markets, the higher we go, the more we can fall. If it's steady eddy and creeps up, don't expect big retracements. But if you get a blow off top, expect a big retracement. That's a very key thing to follow as well. Now let's go back to what this all means and what I think about all the time, because it's the beauty of Bitcoin is it's hard and it's driven by supply and demand. What happens if the supply dries up? What happens if the long-term holders are done selling? What happens if the miners are all their bags are being bought up? And what happens if more big players enter the market? This is what could drive the price absolutely bonkers, okay? And I tweeted this just an hour ago to get a feel for this video. Will Bitcoin hit a supply crunch in 2025? OTC desks hold 200,000 today. Long-term holders have sold 63 to 67% of what they normally sell. And big players, treasuries, sovereigns, and TradFi are coming in on force right now as we speak. So just in less than an hour, nearly 1,200 votes. The importance of having over 1,000 respondents. A poll typically has a margin of error of about plus or minus 3% with a 95% confidence level, and assuming the sample is random and representative. However, And people that follow me on Twitter know Bitcoin. So they're be considered much more knowledgeable than the average puppy on the street. Therefore, 59.1% believe that yes, the supply crunch is coming. 18.5% say nope, the supply will meet demand, without probably looking at the long-term holders and how much they typically sell. And 22% says it hinges on big players, which is what I say too, are the big players coming in. We have seen tons of treasuries come in. We now have the new FASB rules, which make it even easier for more treasuries to come in. And the number of treasuries are going to double in 2025. That's part of my 2025 prediction as well. That means, where is all this Bitcoin going to come from? The only thing that can happen is the price will go up. That's it. It's not hard, ladies and gentlemen. It's not hard. Now, speaking of other players too, this is an example of one stacker. And again, back to Polymarket. And Polymarket has been on the money so much. I believe MicroStrategy alone could create a supply crunch. And going into other stuff that I heard, Dennis Porter talking about yesterday, the strategic Bitcoin reserve is coming in one form or another, whether it's Texas or Florida or Pennsylvania or whatever, or the whole United States or other countries. It's going to happen. And odds are over 80% now that MicroStrategy will have over 500,000 Bitcoin by Feb. And this tells me, again, I always try and put little pieces of the puzzle together in my little head to understand where the puck is going to be. Shout out to Wayne Gretzky. Okay, I have never, in the last week or 10 days, watching this guy for nearly 20 years, Michael Saylor, I've never seen him smile so much. He's always smiling. Normally he's very kind of, coy demeanor, very calm, very serious. But I think, my gut tells me he knows something is up, something we do not. I have a theory that Michael Saylor may have a gut feeling or special knowledge about a significant Bitcoin event in 2025, potentially involving a strategic Bitcoin reserve under the US administration. Also, from the stuff he hears from all his connections around the world, the Max Kaisers and the Dennis Porters and all the other billionaires, and his aggressive accumulation, even at the cost of MicroStrategy stock price, he is just going to the wall to make this happen. I'm not going to talk about that old railway analogy in case people misconstrue it, but he is going full on. Price be damned. He doesn't care if he's spending $106,000 on every Bitcoin. He is trying to get as much as he can because he knows something is happening. Something is happening. All it takes is one big domino to fall, and that's it. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. One domino. What will that domino be? We're not sure, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in the hopper. Renato, thank you so much. And then check this out. Breaking news too. This is Switzerland is now also considering a strategic Bitcoin reserve from the Bitcoin Therapist. Rumors are circulating Switzerland could be the next country to implement a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Ta-da! And by the way, Switzerland has always been very, very Bitcoin and crypto friendly. Way more advanced. A place like Zug, Switzerland, before anybody even spoke about it. So it is a kind of like a Bitcoin native country, if that's even possible. And let's talk about other stuff that's happening. Some more charts, because we are on prediction and chart section of the video. Bitcoin hash rate hits a new all-time high as well. This is from the top and bottom indicator. This green is the hash rate, and blue is the price. And sometimes, I do believe price follows the hash, but sometimes price overruns the hash and then falls back to earth. But if you look at this chart very clearly, the price is catching up to the hash. But we'll have that blow off top and soon exceed the hash, if history repeats. Now, let's get back to one more chart and try to figure out where we're going to go in 2025. This is from, CryptoCon, and he has a cool chart. They basically, just like the Tabby model, my Tabby model says there's no cycle top in sight according to Tabby, but according to his power grid, we are nowhere near 100%. Okay, we're down around, what would that be? Nearly 75%. And that corresponds to what I would call orange in my code. But we are nowhere near the top until we hit 100%, which is still only the first cycle top signal. 2025, per this chart, is primed and ready to be the best year for crypto. And it was always supposed to be. This is the third year of the bull that has just begun, everybody. Third year of the bull. There's nothing from all the data that I see that tells me it's time to be bearish. But hey, I could be wrong. We could go to zero tomorrow. That's always possible. I just don't see it in the data. And that's all I look at. Thank you all for coming. Happy New Year, everybody. This is a Bitcoin and proxies only playlist. If that's all you're interested in, the like and subscribe will be at the end. Again, Happy New Year. Appreciate you all for coming. And I know it's the holidays. Nobody's around. But the hardcore people that did come, thank you for making it. Enjoy the show. Thanks, TND Tesla, Sean Donnelly, K8, Revi, Jerry, and of course, Renato. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye. And enjoy the year. Looks like it's going to be fun. Bye.